For a show that bills itself as family entertainment, Eurovision has featured a surprising number of acts that push the boundaries of what mainstream pop music and performance is.
It can be thrilling to see these offbeat, surprising acts presented to a mainstream audience of nearly 200 million people per year. But some of them, when scaled up and removed from their cultural context, can lose their force. So today, we're going to explore what makes the gleefully bizarro, avant-garde, and absurd work on the Eurovision stage in a special game of Eurovision tops and bottoms that we're calling the Vampire Lesbians of Eurovision Edition.
So to help us with this, we're very excited to have someone very familiar with taking the downtown to the mainstream. Charles Busch is the author and star of over 25 plays, including The Divine Sister and Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, which is one of the longest-running plays in the history of off-Broadway. Now, his Broadway show, The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, received a Tony nomination for Best Play and is the longest-running Broadway comedy of the past 25 years. Charles, welcome.
Well, it's lovely to have you here in my modest little home.
Yes, thank you for letting us in. We normally don't get let into spaces like this.
Well, they're usually in a coffee shop or something.
There's even, we did an interview of someone who won Eurovision who wanted to meet at a cafe in Copenhagen. The whole restaurant was full.
They're very nice in Copenhagen.
Yeah. This is kind of where I wanted to start our conversation.
So Charles, how friendly are they?
Yeah. Can you tell us how friendly they are in Copenhagen?
I did a study abroad program for one semester in Copenhagen. It was like the sex capital of the world. I met this gentleman who said he was a count. He was very kind of mysterious, sexy, nobleman.
Yeah, like most of the noblemen in my life, I have to say.
Yeah. I got back to Northwestern and found out that he was now in prison, that he was the ringleader of a international antique thieving ring. Actually, that time we made love on a 16th century papal bed. It was stolen goods.
Doesn't that make it hotter?
In retrospect, it was kind of hot at the time. Really.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it wasn't until he started looking back, like, oh, wait a minute. That time that they asked me to pick up a crowbar on our way to the birthday party for his henchman. But, when you're young.
Yeah, exactly.
You think,
idealistic about counts.
I think, you're young, you're in a foreign country. I guess people just buy crowbars for, their friends. There was this other boy, Terje, who was Swedish. Beautiful boy. Terje said, Rolando wants to take us to, I think, Rio, and we'd be leaving immediately. I mean, it sounded kind of marvelous, but I couldn't just tell my family that I'm off to,
Rio with Count Rolando.
With Rolando and a whore,
Now, was the Swede stolen goods too? Was he a stolen antique? Or
many people had them that way. But yeah, so I was really kind of disappointed, and then I got a postcard from Terje where he's back in Malmo explaining Interpol came in and arrested the count.
Yeah.
And
this year's Eurovision was in Malmo. And the security situation similarly got really bad. They should have just given everyone crowbars.
Yeah. That'll help.
Yeah. Why are you here? Who are you?
Those are the two questions I ask myself every morning.
Are you famous?
Those are the questions my parents ask me. Yes. So the reason we broke into your apartment is we are going to play you one of these sort of boundary-pushing Eurovision songs that we've dug up. And you're going to have to tell us if you think it placed in the top half of the acts at Eurovision that year, or if it didn't place at all in the finals or placed in the bottom half.
Right. So before we dive in, what do you know about Eurovision going into this?
Nothing.
Amazing.
Great.
Nothing. I know the name. It's not on television.
It is.
It's been yearly on television.
In Greenwich Village?
Yes. First, we have the artist Constructa. Her song is Incorpore Sano, and this represented Serbia in 2022. I'm going to read a little bit of the lyric because the song is in Serbian. What is the secret behind Meghan Markle's healthy hair? I think that the secret is deep hydration. As they say, one's skin and hair reveal everything clearly. Dark spots around the lips might mean that you have an enlarged spleen. An enlarged spleen is not good, not pretty. Because an artist, she has to be healthy.
It's not exactly Rodgers and Hammerstein, is it? Oh, what a beautiful morning.
I think, it's much more Poor Judge's Dad. So,
Wow. So she's a satirical artist.
yeah, it's satire, it's comment,
performance art.
Yeah.
Right.
She was trying to create a Marina Abramovich pop song.
She's a great looking person. I love her look with the black bangs and
Yeah, it's like really, it's kind of a beautiful austere.
she's cool. And she's sort of elegant. She's not overdoing it. I think she's very cool and very kind of minimalist. And
Yeah.
I would think that when she probably does her whole show, that it's performance art.
She was the last person, actually, I think, ever to open for Amy Winehouse. So, when
really?
Amy Winehouse played Serbia, it's like I found these videos online. She'll walk into like a middle school, all these like 10-year-olds, and they'll be singing this song as if it's
Like as if
what
Taylor
we would-
Swift came through. It's like crazy.
which
Well, I'm trying to think of an equivalent. I mean, unfortunately, I'm so Miss Havisham here. I don't know if you noticed, there are many clocks and they've all stopped.
what it becomes about is like this sort of juxtaposition of the expectation placed on female artists
Right.
to be beautiful, and also the fact that like artists in particular don't have health care. So there's this kind of interplay between like an artist must be healthy, but then there are all these issues.
I think that's very interesting, though. That she's contemporary satirical. I somehow have a feeling that she might just be a little too edgy for the masses. Maybe she's in the bottom.
She was in the top. She was
Oh.
number 5 out of 26 countries in the final.
Really?
Huge
And
surprise
that's
hit.
fantastic.
That result is, I think, what made Charlie fall in love with Eurovision.
Oh yeah.
I think that's very encouraging. We're so used to condemning our contemporary society for everything being dumbed down. And I'm just always encouraged when I see something and I think, really, the masses went for this?
Really.
So next we have Balia El Chiqui Chiqui from Rodolfo Chiquilicuatre, representing Spain in Eurovision 2008. The song is a parody of reggaeton, featuring references to pop culture figures and notably an incident between the King of Spain and Hugo Chavez, where the king told Hugo Chavez to shut up.
That lyric got cut before Eurovision
Right.
because Eurovision technically has a rule that none of the songs are allowed to be political.
Because you could have thought that
The previous
song
one,
was.
yeah,
for-
100%.
Should I listen to it?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a real wild look already with the big wig on, and
Perrea, perrea, el chiqui chiqui mola mogollón.
he almost looks like a drag king
He definitely
yeah.
has.
with the fake sideburns and so he's doing kind of satirical rap. Do we know much about his career? Is he?
Yeah, so he's primarily a comedian.
Right, that's what I
Comedian and
figured.
television performer, presenter.
Yeah, because he reminded me a little bit of when Lily Tomlin first started on television. She would do Tommy Velour, was a kind of a lounge singer character.
I say take those voting booths, pull those voting machines out, put slot machines in.
I feel like you're probably the first person to compare this guy to Lily Tomlin. I think that's incredible.
A bottom.
Yeah.
Bottom. Too edgy for for the masses.
A little too edgy, or I think kind of what you said too, where you're like, it's kind of hard to know what to make of a number like that. Like the clarity of
Right.
perspective in the first number.
Yeah.
It's so intentional. Even if you don't know what she's saying, you kind of
Right.
feel like every decision that's made was made
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
You know?
She's also very charismatic performer. I mean, she was
Right.
riveting
Yeah.
to see her on camera. Kind of, there's an intelligence that was very clear. It was hard with this fellow to really see past the wig and
Yes,
and
exactly.
all that. When a performer has a real charisma, it transcends language.
Yeah.
There are a number of people, Catherine Deneuve,
Right.
Sophia Loren in her early Italian
Right.
films, but then she
Yeah.
also had a great American career as well.
Yeah.
I always feel like whatever you do, as far as artistic expression, figure out what is it that you have to offer
Yeah.
And so for me, when I decided to delve into cabaret performing, I thought, well, what do I have to offer? And I love Edith Piaf. And there's a song, La Foule, that I love when she sings. But I had a wonderful lyricist, Susan Birkenhead, who's done
Oh, yeah.
Jolie's Last Jam.
Yeah,
She's a friend of mine. I had her translate the song.
Well, we
Little
can,
teaser.
We'll send Constructa's song to Susan Birkenhead. She
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
perfect.
Oh my
Take it
God, what a
from- take it from-
crossover.
Take it from the Serbian.
yeah,
Susan.
yeah. Well, so next is Gildo Horn's Gildo hat ich lieb, or Love Me Gildo. So this represented Germany at Eurovision in 1998. There's this kind of German music called Schlager. I don't know if
No.
you've heard that term. It basically just means hit song.
They mean it in a negative way.
That's how I would compare it to when you hear someone say, "Oh, great, it's a show tune," and you're like, "That person hates musicals." But sometimes people go, "Show tune."
Yeah.
That
No,
person
you love
likes it.
So this song is actually a parody of the sentiment in German Schlager songs.
Okay.
So the lyric, there was once a time of tenderness, when caressing and cuddling and loving were always written with capitals. Gildo loves you, so even if there are tears, he'll come over and sing songs for you. Gildo loves you.
Gildo hat euch lieb. Und wenn's auch mal Tränen gibt, kommt rüber und singt für euch Lieder.
Oh, he's working the audience.
Yeah. Quite a performer, that guy, I think.
This is so European. This is definitely not
Yeah.
goes on in this country.
No, that's kind of a delightful thing. Is
Yeah.
It's very. Because he's just not conventionally attractive middle-aged guy. And he's running into the audience. And
We did one other interview today, and the comedian we were talking to also was like, it's so funny that like Eurovision will put middle-aged guy on stage in a way that
Yeah, we don't see
know,
here.
we don't get that.
I've very good friends, this doctor and his wife, who are Americans, and they're in their 70s, and they bought a place in Portugal, and they're always telling me that it doesn't seem like in Europe that it's as ageist, and that they're so shocked that these young people who are in their 20s have actually kind of embraced them.
I think it's like also has to do with like our image of ourselves as a country, which is like
I
we
remember
are the young country.
Thinking
We
it
are-
was like funny when Desperate Housewives came out. There was this idea that they were like all old women in one show, and I just saw
They're all
Terry
30.
Hatcher in Superman. I was like,
Yeah.
Golden Girls, but that was such a shock that
yeah.
that suddenly the people were interested in women in their 50s.
Gildo loves you. Did Eurovision love Gildo?
I didn't get too much out of it personally.
Yeah.
Bottom.
So this actually was a top.
Really?
Yeah. I do think that he has a certain personal charisma. But it's also that Schlager actually is something that the entire, I think, Eurovision community is very
Yes.
familiar with.
He really worked the audience.
Yeah.
and-
yeah. Okay, so next we have the group Les Fatales Picards with L'Amour à la Française.
So what country was that representing?
Yeah, what's that?
It's representing France, Eurovision.
Shocker.
Sorry, representing France
Fatales
in
Picards.
Eurovision 2007. It's a love song using franglais, a mixture of French and English. And the lyric is, I remember pretty young lady, the last summer, us, the Eiffel Tower. I remember how beautiful you were. So beautiful with your Chanel bag. On the bridge of the Seine. Let's do it again, or again.
Yeah.
If we-
Hello,
Way to get the rhyme
Susan,
in.
I've got another song for you.
yeah. This
How
might
soon
need a
can you
clean.
turn this over?
Yeah.
I remember une jolie demoiselle sur la semaine où la tour Eiffel.
Well, these two guys are really cute. They're so retro. I mean, it's totally like out of the 70s.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, 2007, which is not the 70s.
We say that time is a construct in Eurovision.
Yeah, Eurovision loves a throwback.
It's so hard to know really whether something's
know.
a hit or resonates with people when it's it's so foreign to our sensibility.
Right.
And that's kind of the interesting thing about Eurovision is like each individual country has its own cultural context and sensibility. So this is like very French, right? And like
Yeah.
making fun of Frenchness.
Yes.
Yeah, I always found it interesting with drag that when I've seen drag performers from different countries, and you could see within just a certain kind of international drag vocabulary. They still were using stuff from their own culture.
We've had so many conversations about this. It's like, having grown up in Norway,
The Danish, there's just cooler characters.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
There was this girl that it sounds like I made up her name, but it's really true. Heidi Seidel.
Oh my
And
God.
Heidi Seidel was kind of wealthy, rather privileged young lady.
Yeah.
But she was staying with families, and she left like 5 families within a week. You know, and there was this woman, Hannah something, who was the head of housing, and she was a rather severe Danish woman. And I
think we met Hannah.
and I just happened to overhear them talking when Heidi was complaining. She said, "But I'm just not happy." And this woman, who was the head of housing, said, "Heidi, it is not necessary to be happy." And I thought that kind of
Yeah,
was,
sums it up.
summed it up.
But so, Charles, how do you feel the Eurovision community reacted?
Oh, they didn't buy it.
They didn't buy it. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're right.
This was
You're right.
a definite bottom.
The guys are cute though.
Yeah, that's true. Both bottoms as well.
Yeah.
So that's,
bottom on stage
That
and
was
off.
the problem. They were both bottoms.
yeah.
I do find though that sex appeal is
Yeah.
kind of a necessity, I think, for great success in
Yeah.
performing arts. It's not about looks.
Right. It's
Right.
sex appeal broadly defined. It's
But
like,
there's an inner sex appeal.
It's the story about Marilyn Monroe, like walking through the streets of New York. No one's like recognizing her. And she turns to her friend and she goes, "Do you want me to turn it on?" And this person says, suddenly the character Marilyn, she just turned it on. And everyone was like, "Marilyn, Marilyn." It's just something about that energy. It drew people right towards
Do you
her.
identify
when
with
we
this,
leave-
Charlie?
I was just going to say, when we leave today, I'll turn it on.
Demonstrate it.
Yeah.
There is something about taking stage, and some people know how to do it. I'm really just coming off like the oldest person in the world here, but anyways, whatever. Respect me. I remember when I was a teenager and I saw Lauren Bacall in this Broadway musical Applause. And it was a real lesson in a star turn because she just really had kind of a croak of a voice. You know, there was a famous story that Ethel Merman was sitting in the front row when Bacall hit some big, applause number. Ethel Merman went, "Jesus." But it was just a big kind of fuck you. If you don't like it, why don't you try to do better?
Yeah.
And it would almost defined star of this
Yeah.
kind of just defiance. I'm up here and I'm fabulous.
I have like such an Elaine Stritch obsession for this exact reason.
Yeah.
When she took over in night music, I think the show ran like half an hour longer than it had.
Oh, yeah.
And the audience was on the edge of their seat the entire time.
So were the actors.
Well, that was the thing too. But you're so right, though. There'd be these long pauses, and yet she filled them in this because she was playing a character who was about to die. It was so riveting in a kind of an avant-garde kind of way that went beyond Broadway musical.
No, it felt like I was
It was
watching
Bre-
Brecht.
It was like Brecht.
Yeah.
And I knew her a bit. I brought it up, in a polite way. I think I said to her, because I remember reading that she had studied in her youth with I forget the name of the guy.
Irving Piscator.
And that. So I said, are you like using some of this kind of avant-garde technique in doing a little night music? Because those pauses are just so filled and she said, "Oh, I just didn't know what the next line was."
So this is the Croatian band Let 3. I will give you a lyric, "Mama bought a tractor," and then the other lyric is "Mama kissed a moron."
Is it ever like just like a quiet, lovely ballad?
Yeah, but those don't make great podcast material.
Okay.
Mama ljubila morona. Mama ljubila morona.
I'm not sure I could do 3 hours of watching this TV show.
I mean, I recommend mushrooms.
What language is this?
This is Croatian.
I mean, you did say you like maximalists, Charles.
Yeah, this is one of the most.
Eurovision is maximalist to the core.
Yeah. It's all the staging and the set and he's. Did he take his clothes off?
Yeah, they're taking their clothes off now.
Well, I like
They
that.
actually normally they get fully naked, but Eurovision would not allow them to.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a sexy guy too, right?
He has, to me, that kind of magnetic sex appeal
Ah,
that may
okay.
not be out of traditional attractiveness.
I'd like to see more of him.
Let 3 is kind of a Croatian punk band. They're known for more political work. Their big attempt to get around the nudity laws in Croatia was that they got completely naked, but they had corks in their assholes.
So they were wearing something.
So their argument against the Croatian obscenity laws was that they were wearing something.
Well, that's sort of cool.
Yeah. I think they're very cool. I like them.
Can we see this on video? Are they cute?
What is it? An acquired taste.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell too much. But yeah, that guy was striking.
Energy to him.
Like, I think they're in the top.
Nailed it.
Yes.
They were top 10.
They were.
When you leave, I'm going to be Googling them.
The final number is going to be Verka Serduchka,
Yes.
which represented Ukraine in 2007.
Yeah.
The song is called Dancing Lasha Tumbai.
Lasha Tumbai is not Ukrainian. The idea was that Lasha Tumbai sounds like something else when sung.
I want you see Lasha Tumbai. I want you see Lasha Tumbai.
She's singing in English, too. I love their costumes. It does seem like a lot of the choreography is sort of calisthenics, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I find that sort of true of like everything we've watched.
So the hook Lasha Tumbai.
Yeah, I didn't get it. What?
Yeah, so the idea is that it sounds a little bit like Russia Goodbye when it's sung.
Verka Serduchka is a character created by this guy, Andrei Danlikov.
That was a guy?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I thought it was a girl.
So
And we've talked about this on the podcast before, but there's an interesting thing that when it comes to queer rights, in response kind of to Russia, Ukraine has become much more pro-gay and pro-queer because
Putin
it's
is
a way of
so homophobic.
Right, it's a way of separating
yeah.
it. And then you get someone like Verka Serduchka.
Yeah.
So suddenly, like, this disco ball drag queen becomes one of their faces of their resistance. In
Isn't
a
that
way.
wonderful?
Right?
It's wonderful.
First, we need to ask if you think Eurovision embraced this number.
Yes.
100%
You are
right.
100% right. So this song placed second overall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You've certainly opened my eyes to entirely new culture.
But what are your takeaways?
In what ways have you grown over the past?
What have I learned? Have you learned, Dorothy? Well, I feel
You were there.
just hearing the phrase Eurovision, I thought it was kind of American Idol. I didn't know that it ventured into the political, and I can understand why it's this extraordinary phenomenon, certainly.
Yeah.
Have there been any just songs that have become
Waterloo.
hits?
Waterloo would be
probably
the big one. The other huge success in a way that came out of Eurovision is Celine Dion.
Really? She came out of Eurovision?
Yeah. I mean, there are older songs too, like Volare was a Eurovision song.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Charles, thank you so
Thank you so much.
for this. This has
Thank
been
you.
really
It's so
amazing.
wonderful having you here.
No,
Oh my
it's been
God.
so
Well,
delightful.
we might move in.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All the mysteries of the Eurovision.